Welcome to Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior. I am Pei-I. I'm a parenting and teen challenging behavior specialist at Rainbow Parenting Practice. Over the last 30 years, I've worked with children, teenagers, and then families with various complex needs across different settings. But it is my personal story, being a troubled teenager, that led me to the creation of my innovative parenting method, Thriving Together Parenting Method. It can help you and your team to have a more loving, respect-driven relationship and the happiness and harmony in your family home in 90 days. No matter what challenging behavior it is, how challenging it has been, and for however long your family has been in a difficult place. Many families came to me when they were in crisis or at breaking point. My TTP method is the secret to their transformative family lives. It can be yours too. I am thrilled for you to be here, and that possibly means you are a successful but stressed out parent who is managing a very demanding job but struggling to know what to do and how to help your troubled teen who is stuck in patterns of challenging behavior. You're fed up with trying everything but nothing works. You're looking for solutions yesterday and are determined to do whatever it takes to help your teen and family thrive. At Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior, I will share all the insights I've learned from working with families and their teenagers over the years. I will not hold back. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome to Teen Talk. Welcome to the podcast that talks about teenagers, their lives, and their families. Everything related to teenagers' lives, everything related to their families or the matters, the issues, the challenges they're facing at this current time, we will be speaking about them. I am your host. I am Pei-I. I'm an integrative parenting and teen behavior specialist at Rainbow Parenting Practice. It is lovely to welcome you if this is the first time you're tuning in. And usually Belle and I, Belle, my co-host, teenage co-host, have a ritual for the show. That is where we will draw cards and then talk about a specific topic from the cards. Here are the sets of the cards. However, Belle is busy with the exam just now, so she won't be able to be with us. But hopefully she'll be with us with a discussion in the coming future very shortly. So today we're going to break the ritual and think about substance misuse in teenagers, but only me speaking about this. However, what I'm going to try to do is to hold the teenager's perspective in mind. I'm going to try to hold a professional's position in mind, but I'm also going to hold the parent's position in mind. And if you listen to my episodes before, there were a few occasions I was doing the episode myself, and I found it really, really difficult to speak to the camera and talking to myself. But I'm going to try super hard today to make this conversation really interesting for the audience, for the parents or for the teenagers out there who is listening. So let's think about substance misuse in teenagers. And I'm curious to, the audience who's listening out there, I wonder what first came to you, to your minds when I say substance misuse in teenagers. What sort of the negative connotation or thoughts you have about teenagers using substance? And it's okay, you can be really honest with yourself, because it can be easily done. They are depressed, they're using this to medicate themselves, and they are dangerous, they are hanging about with bad friends, or they're wasting their life away, they're addict, they're stealing money to buy drugs. So there may be lots of negative connotation about teenagers using in substance misuse, in using substance, forgive my English. So we probably want to start from here to think about why there's so much negative connotation about teenagers using substance. And by the way, I am not saying teenagers using substance is a good thing. What I want to be thinking about is how can we open up our minds and our thinking to look at this objectively and through different lenses to support the teenagers who is using substance. Yeah. So this, I think it would be interesting for us to think about this. So let's think about, where did this negative connotation come from? Why are there so many stereotypes, typing or negative thoughts about teenagers using substance? Do you think it's possible? Well, from a perspective, I think it's possibly from the cultural stance, how people view drug addict. Like, if you're a drug addict, you're a bad person. There must be something very wrong with you, or, to be using drug, and you not something not somebody nice to be hanging about with. So, and then also the family beliefs as well, in terms of what using substance is and what that means for the family. What does it mean for our reputation? What does it mean for our values? How would other people perceive us? So there's a lot of influences from the external side of things. Like I said, the what is that, the cultural stances and the family or your community. They could have a very strong views and negative connotation, or thinking views about teenager who's using substance. However, is it really like this though? Do we really think all the teenagers who are using substance are bad, are dangerous, are addict, are a waste of space? No, I don't think so, right? Is it possible they're actually struggling? They're struggling in different aspects of their life, and they don't know how to navigate that. So, from a teenager's perspective, let's think about the teenager's perspective. If you go ahead and ask your teenagers as to why you're using substance, what do you think your teenagers might say to you as to the reasons why they're using? And if you're not sure what that is, it's okay, because some of I've worked with a lot of teenagers who are using substance, and there are many various reasons as to why they're using substance. And some of them use this to use a substance to self-medicate. If they struggle with depression, anxieties, it makes them feel calmer. And they find this really helpful. Like, if I smoke marijuana, I don't have those anxious thoughts. I can calm myself. And there be maybe teenagers who are just experimenting, and we know their brain is still developing, and their impulsive control, and they are more enticed to risk-taking behavior. So they may be just experimenting about different kinds of drugs, or it could be the peer influences. The peers are using, the people they're hanging about with, that might be a driving force for them to use, because your teenagers don't know how to say no to these peers. Peer pressure, we talked about peer pressure in the past, and it's really, really powerful. Or your teenagers just want to be cool. Like, hey, if I use substance, if I use drug, I feel accepted. It kind of like establish an authority or some sort of reputation for them, right? It could also be that. But then there also could be, the teenagers could be like, but my parents are smoking marijuana or taking drugs. Why wouldn't I? Why couldn't I? Right? Or there could be teenagers thinking, oh, or experiencing there's just too many conflicts, too many challenges in the family dynamics, in the relationships, in the family home. They just couldn't cope. So they use this to cope with the big feelings they don't know how to navigate. So if you're thinking through this lens, you can see why a teenager want to, or susceptible for to use substance to help them navigate all these feelings and thoughts that have nowhere else to go, right? So now we'll be thinking, and there's also a possibility, I forgot to say about this, there's also a possibility your teenage children don't know the risk of taking drug. And one thing is, you know what, they could think about, like, actually marijuana is not addictive. And also, this may not affect our health, but the reality is, yes, it will affect your health, physical health. You will damage your organ, and you will also impair your brain development. So there's a lot of high risks involved. Are your teenagers aware of them? But then the most important question is, are you, as a parent, aware of the struggles your teenagers are going through? Because using substance is a behavior, and I often talk about behavior is just a symptom. It's a symptom to tell you, I am not okay. Like I have a cough, or during the COVID pandemic, if you have the runny nose or coughing, non-stop coughing, what's the other one? I forgot. Then you are more likely to have COVID. But the symptoms are runny nose and coughing non-stop, dry throat, the other one. So then okay, that's more likely I will have COVID. And it's the same for teenagers. Their behavior is a symptom. It's not the cause it's not the root cause, right? So we need to think about why our teenagers are taking drugs for the many reasons we just spoke about. However, remember, I always talk about, you need to think about your family circumstances. Your family circumstances are unique. So you need to think about, in your family home, are there any challenges or family dynamics that's making things difficult? How is my relationship with my teenager? Do they feel safe? Do they feel okay? And are they able to trust me with their feelings? And if they encounter or face challenges in school or in the outside world, will they be able to come and say to me as to, like, oh, mom and dad, I'm struggling with this? And then do they feel able to come and speak to you about this? So these so these are the things you can start to think about underlying this. What are the root cause underlying the symptoms? What is driving my teenage children to smoke? And this is just something I do in my is something I help parents with, is think about the driving factors. How do we unpick, the behavior, to think about the underlying root cause, to address the challenges and support the teenagers and the parents well, and with success too. So you need to think about, is he the peer we're using? Is it because we argue too much? Is it because he's bored, she's bored? Is it because of pleasure? Is it because they have access to it? Is it because there's a benefit of using? Like I say earlier, I feel calmer, I feel relaxed. Or are there mental health difficulties? So you need to think about, identify all these things to be able to help your teenagers. And before we come to talk about that a bit more, now let's think about the parents' perspectives. And now this is the part for teenagers, right? If your parents are here and sharing their thoughts and feelings about you taking drug, what do you think your parents might have said? What are the things they may be worried about? Do you think they might be worried about your health, worried about your academic, side of things, that you might not be able to go to school every day? Do you think they might be worried about your physical health as well, your brain development? Do you think they might be worried about your sleep? Because that's what happened when you are, using drug. There will be a deterioration in your sleep quality. Your grades will go down, your speech will slur if you're using it at the time. So what do you think your parents will be worried about? Do you think all the things I just said might be the things they're worried about? Do you think they'll be worried about you become addicted to the drug use? Do you think they might be thinking, like, you might not be able to live up to your full potential? Do you think they're worried about the friends you're with? Well, it's just some of the thoughts for teenagers to think about your struggles from your parents' perspective. How will they see this? And like I said earlier, they might see this a very bad thing, but then there's a process here. It's a collaborative process. It's how do you communicate with each other? How do you communicate about your struggles, as a teenager? How do you tell your parents or the people around you? If you're struggling to tell your parents, how do you tell the people around you, the one you trust, about your struggle, whether it's your anxieties, whether it's about your depression, or it's about your peer, or it's about you just simply want to experiment, or it's because your parents are using, right? Do you have anybody in your circle that you can speak to about these things, which is really important? Because when you hide these things, when you suppress these things and don't talk about it, it's more likely you will go back to use drug. Right, so it's really important you think about who are these people that I can speak to, because in addition, okay, what's what I'm trying to say? Because whatever you are going through, you don't need to use drug to help you go through whatever challenges you're going through just now. There are other ways, and you will meet other people to help you to find what those ways are. Because right now, as a teenager, you probably just think, so smoking marijuana or taking K-drug or what other kind of drug, prescribed drugs, actually make me feel good, right? But there are other ways that can make you feel good, and that is healthy, that is promoting your development, right? So you can think about this thing. Who are those people? And parents, what we need to probably think about is, are we that person for our teenager? And if we are not that person for our teenagers just now, who are those people around my teenager that I can speak to my teenager? And how can I become that person for my teenager? That's really important, because I always say to the parents, you're the most influential and important people in your teenager's life. So how can you be that person for your teenagers? And then I'm also curious about how well do you know about the struggles your teenagers are going through? How well do you know about the substance? What kind of drugs they're using? What kind of science they're using? How well do you know about the support out there? This is for teenagers too. What do you know about the science? You know, the drug, if the side effects for the drugs, what support out there is for both you, the parents, and the teenagers. Right, so these are the starting point you probably want to start to think about, so then you can start addressing the underlying causes for your teenagers driving your teenagers to substance misuse. And there has been an increasing concern for the teenage substance misuse. And then also, what really worries me is, like, where do they get access to this? Right, that's one thing I want to encourage the parents to think about, is their access to drugs. And I will always feel like that is the first interventions to do, is to make sure your team doesn't have access to it. You probably want to think about boundaries, think about how you talk about this openly and safely. But I want to encourage you to think about the points I spoke about today, and thinking about actually what are some of them, starting with this negative connotation. What are we thinking about the drug use? And if we are going through seeing our teenagers' drug use through the lens of a negative side of things, it's more likely it will create more challenges for you when you're supporting your team. And I know I'm not saying taking drug is good. I'm encouraging you to see through a different lens, seeing that your teenager is actually struggling. There are different drivers, challenges they're facing. They're not able to speak to you. Drug use is a symptom, not the cause. You want to tackle the cause to help your teenagers coming out of not taking drug. Teenagers, I want to encourage you to think about other ways to cope with the challenges, and find those people who you can trust and who you can speak to, because those people are the ones that can help you find new ways to work through these feelings, work through whatever you think that you can go through just now. And that is a healthier way that can promote your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and your social health too. Right? So think about these things. And for professionals, there's lots of support out there, which I will put it in the comments and you can access them. There's one called Ask Frank, and I'm sure there are other support, but I'm talking about in UK-based. I will be looking for UK-based resources for the parents in UK. And wherever you are, the audience, remember, using substance is a symptom, not the root cause, and trying to see through that, try to support your teams with the challenges they're facing. And I hope you'll find this episode really helpful, and I will see you on the next episode. And if you, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I recently published a free ebook called Top 10 tips to manage challenging adolescent behavior. You can go to my website, www.rainbowparentingpractice.com, to download the free copy. And there are 10 top tips with action steps you can take. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. Bye. If you find this show helpful, please hit that follow or subscribe button. It does wonders for the show, so more people can find Teen Talk navigating teen challenging behavior organically. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, please drop me a line at Pei-I@teentalkpod.com. That is PEI-I at teentalkpod.com. I read every email I get, whether that's an episode idea, a guest recommendation, or just a simple note about how the show has impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. I am Pei-I, and I'll see you on the next episode.